All right, people. As we said earlier this week, we've got an amazing guest in the building. She's already chimed in on certain things that we spoke about, and it's been an amazing contribution. So I can only imagine how the rest of this conversation is going to go. Please share the video. Please like the video. And again, like this is information that is really pertinent to our people, particularly. You know what I'm saying? So please, let's get this information out. And please welcome Mary Sneakwa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm
Good, good,
good.
good.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for reaching out, man, and all the good work you're doing, man. We definitely need to get into your story, and yeah, I'm thinking of the best first question to ask you because I've got so many different questions, by the
Oh,
way, so many different questions to ask you.
oh.
But obviously, in fact, no, tell the people a little bit about yourself first, then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Mary-Shaniqua. I am a sickle cell patient, and advocate, and disability rights advocate. I am author of Shaniqua Sickle Chronicles, and I have been using my social media platforms to share my experiences and use that to educate the people about sickle cell.
Okay, thank you. That was perfect. And you know what? This first question I want to ask, yeah, it might seem maybe a bit silly, but like they say, there's no silly questions, right? And I
Silly
want
question.
people to really understand everything as much as possible,
Yeah.
right? But how and when did you first learn that you had sickle cell?
So I wasn't diagnosed at birth.
Okay.
So my parents must have had this child that they didn't know what was wrong. My mum
Mm,
said I cried for 8 weeks straight. She didn't know
wow.
what was wrong with me. Give
Wow.
me food, like just nothing would work. So I was diagnosed when I was almost 2 years old.
Mm,
I was on a family holiday somewhere else in the UK, and I just suddenly stopped walking. And they didn't know why. They took me to the local hospital there, and that's where I was diagnosed.
wow.
In terms of like when I've always known I had sickle because
Mm,
I was very unwell as a child.
yeah.
So I spent a lot of time in hospital, children's hospital.
Mm,
So like I have memories going to like 5, 6, even 4 years old where I remember being in, I may not remember like the actual crisis or
yeah.
what happened, but I remember being in
Mm,
hospital, waking up in hospital and so on.
wow. So what was your, I guess, your childhood growing up like, basically, with
Mm.
sickle cell, like compared to, like, what's the best way of maybe contrasting somebody with sickle cell with somebody who doesn't? What's the best way
Yeah,
of describing it?
so that's a good question because I don't know. So sometimes I say healthy people,
Okay.
sometimes I say non-sickle patients, sometimes I say normal people, and then I have to pull myself up like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm normal too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I actually don't have the answer to that. So let's go with healthy people or like non-sickle patients or
So, but
something.
doesn't saying can you have sickle cell and be healthy though? Healthy though.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. You're right. I would, I mean, depends on one's definition of health, but I think I would argue that I feel like I'm healthy. Like I look healthy, I
Yeah.
think.
Exactly.
I think. I don't know. I could be wrong.
And I remember, sorry to cut you. I
No.
remember seeing one of your posts, and you was talking about the whole being referred to as a sickler,
Yes.
which obviously took me back to Nigeria, and like, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, do people actually say that in the UK though?
Ah, they do. They
Oh,
do.
serious?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me personally, what I will say is sickler is fighting talk. If you want to call me sickler, you better be ready to square up. Like
Yeah.
that is fighting talk because
Mm,
don't call me that.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
could call me a bunch of things. Don't call me that.
Mm, mm. All right. Well, like I was asking, yeah, what was your childhood? I guess like
Mm.
how did it differ?
So I am one of 4 siblings,
Okay.
right? And none of my siblings have sickle.
Mm,
So it was really easy for me to see how my childhood differed from theirs.
mm,
My siblings were amazing, by the way. No,
yeah.
it's not shade to them. But my parents really, really wrapped me in cotton wool,
Mm,
like, like little things on the estate. It would be summer and water fights. Kids love water fights. My parents would be like, "No, no water fights for you. You can't, you know, get wet and then cold, and then
mm-hmm,
you'll have a crisis."
mm,
So that wasn't an option for me.
Yeah.
And other things as well. My parents really wrapped me in cotton wool. To some degree, it helped
Okay.
because like I said, I was very sick
Yeah.
to about age 6 or 7.
Mhm.
And thereafter, I did have crisis a lot, but I was never hospitalized.
Okay.
I wasn't hospitalized until I was 16. So even though I was really unwell, like
Yeah.
in like early childhood,
Mhm.
their wrapping me in cotton wool must have worked because I wasn't in
Mm.
hospital for so long.
Mm.
Obviously, you grow up, you want to live life, innit?
Yeah.
You want to go on holiday, you want to, because so wrapping me in cotton wool meant things like we didn't travel abroad, we
Okay.
didn't, there were so many things that other children do that I didn't get to do.
Mm.
And so naturally you want to live a bit. And so that comes with consequences like hospital beds.
But when you say that, you guys didn't travel abroad, yeah,
Mm,
was that basically a situation where like the entire family didn't?
yeah,
So your siblings didn't go as well and everything?
we didn't have any family holidays.
Did your siblings like know it was because of you in some capacity, if you know what I mean?
Not at the time, I don't
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they know now in retrospect, but
Mm.
not at the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
And when you say obviously being wrapped in cotton wool and stuff, yeah, what other things would, I guess, the average person take for granted that your parents had to consider? You know what I'm saying?
So, a real good question. Things like playing outside playgrounds
Mm.
for long periods of time, being able to go out in the winter, being able to dress fashionably. Oh my days, my mum used to buy me this coat, right? And it was basically a sleeping bag. It was like a massive winter coat. It went down to my ankles and it was big and puffy. And she used to say to me that I can't follow the other
Yeah.
girls with their fashionable coats and stuff because if I get cold, I'll get sick. I used to hate those coats that she would buy. Like, I felt like such a victim.
As at what stage, yeah, did your mum have less of an influence on how you dressed and stuff? Yeah.
I think it's when I hit sixth form into uni.
Okay.
So sixth form, obviously, I was still living at home. So she would still say, so I remember the major crisis I had at 16, ironically enough, was I was trying to go to a party and she was like, you can't go. And fortunately, she said that because I went into like one of the worst crises, like
Serious.
a few hours after that.
Wow.
And if I had been at someone else's house when that happened, because I didn't know what to do. Remember, I hadn't been in hospital
yes,
for
of course.
so long. I wouldn't, even when it happened, she was like, does it feel like a crisis? I said, I don't remember what crisis feels like. I just know that I'm in agony.
Wow.
And I didn't have a cause for the agony kind of thing. So she always waves that over me like, you should listen to your mum. Mother's intuition is always right.
So outside of a crisis, is every day like normal?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
it was for me initially.
Okay.
But the problem is, so if you think about what a sickle crisis is, right? So red blood cells, if we take it back to GCSE biology, red blood cells are circular, right? And they're concave.
Yes.
So that they could take oxygen around the body. The sickle red blood cell is sickle in shape.
Okay.
So it can't carry oxygen around the body as much. It can't carry enough oxygen around the body.
Yeah.
So what that means is there are parts of your body, and sorry, a crisis is when those cells get stuck. And so there's some parts of your body not getting sufficient oxygen. And naturally what that will mean is damage. So damage to the organ, damage to the bone, whatever that may be. And when you come out of the crisis or you recover from the crisis, that damage doesn't reverse. So if you do have long-term damage as a result of sickle crises, that changes your everyday life. So for me, before, if I wasn't having a crisis, I was what quote unquote normal every other day until like 2019, pretty much. That's when my life changed. That's when my life changed.
Wow.
And every day, even without a crisis, can be quite a struggle because of long-term damage.
Wow. So you mentioned 2019. What happened in 2019?
It's a good question. So I was really unwell anyway from like 2017 to 2019. So over the course of those 2 years, I spent just over 400 days in hospital. There's only 365 days in a year, so that's a long time.
Wow.
And not all in one sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like various different crises and stuff. But towards, I think I went in, so I really like soca music.
This guy.
And I love masquerading. And so I would go carnival every year, masquerade. I mean, I'd go abroad, go carnivals abroad as well, but the UK, Notting Hill Carnival, I would be playing mass like every year. 2017, after carnival, I had a major crisis, went into ICU.
Wow.
I was like, oh, maybe I won't do all the, Panorama, Juve, Carnival Sunday, Carnival Monday. Maybe I'll shorten it. 2018, I tried the shortened approach. After carnival crisis again, ICU. I said, okay, maybe I'll just do like one day, and I'll tell the band that I've got sickle and that I need somewhere to sit down and this. I did the one day, told the band, they gave me somewhere that I could sit down anytime. 2019 went into a hospital ICU with the crisis after carnival. So that was a day that I accepted. I probably can't masquerade anymore. But that hospitalization, I went in August the 28th and I came out November the 16th. Very long hospitalization. And they really struggled to get on top of the pain. They really struggled to identify the cause of the crisis and so on and so forth. So what that meant was I got long-term damage in my hip bones, which obviously impact my mobility.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things. But yeah, so that is what really I would say ultimately changed my daily life. Like before, think of how long the carnival route is. I can't walk that distance now.
Wow.
I couldn't. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that were normal. I used to go to the gym and go boxing and dance, and I can't do any of that now. Like, I have to adjust my lifetime expectations as well. So in my hobbies, I spend more time like reading and baking than outside now.
Wow. So, you know how obviously, sometimes they're like, okay, cool, you just have to train and maybe strengthen muscles or do this. None of that applies here?
It doesn't apply because the death isn't in the muscle, it's in the bone.
Ah, okay.
So the only option really is the bone will eventually get worse, and then you have a replacement, like a hip replacement or a shoulder. So now I've got it in my shoulder as well. They call it avascular necrosis, which is basically bone death. So that's why it doesn't work. There are things with sickle that you can improve, muscle and so on. And you can train. And I'm not saying people with sickle cell can't go gym or can't train. Absolutely. If you're able to in a way that is safe, you absolutely should. For as long as you can as well, because that's another thing people take for granted. And then when it's gone, you suddenly, I wish I went to the gym all the time when I could and so on. But the bone death, that doesn't reverse.
Just reverse, yeah. Wow. It's crazy, man. Obviously this would have affected like every area of your life. Career, just living life, relationships and all that sort of stuff. Let's start with your career. How has it affected your career?
So I would say it's affected my career quite significantly, and both in good and bad ways.
Okay.
So initially when I first started working, my first line manager, she said to me, I don't think working is for you.
Can you imagine?
The language she used actually was that I should go on incapacity benefit, which I think is really horrible and outdated. I think what she meant is what they call employment support allowance.
Yeah.
And I would still disagree. I would still disagree that I needed to go on that, because I think all it was is that I didn't have the right adjustments in place. But what I will say is throughout my career, as I've learnt my body and ascertained what adjustments I need and had workplaces that have been positive and included those adjustments, because not all of them have been, I've been able to fortunately excel.
Okay.
But I am conscious of something called survivorship bias, because I know a lot of sickle patients who don't have the career that I have. They don't have I wouldn't say my career is high flying. I'm not anybody, I've got a
You're
job.
somebody, man.
Not like, but yeah, I know a lot of sickle patients
Yeah.
who would love to be in the sort of career I'm in or
Mhm.
have the sort of opportunities I have, and they just don't. So
Mm.
I'm always conscious of survivorship bias and making it sound like, oh, well, if I can do it, you can do it.
Mhm.
I don't think that's right.
Mm.
Mm,
I remember again seeing one of your posts, and you was talking about whenever you, I guess, get a new job, or whatever, you make sure that there's certain things in place.
absolutely.
So even though you make sure, because it sounds like obviously you're putting it on them to
Yeah.
ensure that everything's comfortable for you and stuff, doesn't that hold you back?
Yes, it does. But so that's a relatively new thing, like
Okay.
within the last, I would say, 6 years of my career.
Mm.
And that is because I had a line manager. So I preface this by saying my previous line managers, for the most part, were quite good,
Mm.
but they didn't understand sickle,
Mm.
if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Whereas I had this line manager who, ironically enough, she wasn't the best line manager generally, but she was living with a disability,
Yeah.
not sickle, but she
Mm.
took medication that was similar to what I took. So
Okay.
she understood the impact of the medication and
Yeah.
ways in which I was working that were
Mhm.
doing me a disservice
Mm.
without me knowing.
Mhm.
And so she sat me down. She said, you need to do this, ask for this, approach this organization, get the workplace to agree this, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And since I've had that, what I will say is it's absolutely changed my life.
Yeah.
I've
Wow.
been able to, in that 6 years, I think I've had, 3 promotions.
Come on.
Like, it's
Mm.
because now I can focus on the
Yeah.
job. I'm not
Yeah.
like trying to survive in the background with
Mhm.
no one knowing and trying to do the job at this. I
Mhm.
can just focus on the work.
Yeah.
It's made such a difference.
What are some of those this
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because obviously I'm pretty sure that there will be some people out here who know people with sickle cell
Mm,
or have sickle cell themselves.
mm,
What are some of these things so that they can take it on and also
yeah,
progress?
sure. So the first thing is, so I do office work.
Okay.
So working from home is an absolute must
Mm.
be available. I'm not going to any organization that's telling me I've got to be in the office even 3 days a week. I'm
Mm.
not going.
Mm.
Yeah. Because when I think back, remember I said 2019 is when
Yes.
it all,
Mhm.
that's before COVID, right? So
Mhm.
that's when I was going into the office 5 days a week, trying to be
Yeah.
like everyone else, not knowing that I was doing my body a disservice
Yeah.
in forcing it. And back then, if you're still working from home, they would have called you lazy. Now,
Mhm.
I mean, COVID had its, but the benefit that it brought is working from home now, no one will look at you sideways.
Yeah.
So you can definitely maximize that. And I don't go into the office in the winter months
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
So I don't go in from December, is it November, December, one of them, right the way through to March when it's
Okay.
cold, because
Yeah.
big trigger for me is the cold weather.
Mhm.
Another big trigger for me is infection. So
Mm.
someone else might have a cold
Mhm.
and I get that, and then I end up in ICU.
Mm.
I've had a situation like that. My friend won't mind me sharing the story. We were in uni, and I was eating, and she wanted to taste some of my food. Let her taste it off the same fork, whatever.
Mm.
I ended up in hospital. She had the onset of a cold, didn't think anything of it,
Damn.
and for me, that's like, there's
Mm.
no immune system to fight that. Just yeah. I mean, we laugh about it now, but at the time, I wasn't laughing.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And would one be exaggerating, or is this the actual reality where it's like every time you have to go hospital, it could be.
Yeah, life and death, absolutely, for a myriad of reasons. Even a non-serious crisis. So in my head, right,
Mhm.
I have things that I would categorize as really serious
Mm.
pain,
Mhm.
and things that I would categorize as non-serious.
Okay.
But even a non-serious crisis can be life-threatening
Mm.
because of, firstly, the point I mentioned, whatever part of the body that is
Yeah.
not getting sufficient oxygen. That's a big problem. Your body needs oxygen to survive. And secondly, is poor care. Poor care
Mm.
kills.
Mm.
And sickle patients get a lot of poor care. Like,
Mm.
that's why people are scared of A&E. They're scared of going to... So my approach is, I don't trust no healthcare professional until they prove
Yeah.
themselves trustworthy.
Mhm.
I go into hospital ready for war. Like,
Mm.
for me, that because
Mhm.
that, to me, that's the only way I get out of this situation
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
They
Wow.
will do whatever and go back to their families, and
Facts.
I'm the one that will suffer.
Yeah.
So I'm not anymore. I'm ready for war all the time, and I try my best not to go to just any old hospital anymore.
Mm.
I rather suffer and go to the hospital that knows me. Like, let's do that long drive. That's
Mm.
okay.
It's funny you say that because I knew somebody in the past who had sickle cell,
Mm,
and she said the same thing. There were
mm,
certain hospitals that she preferred to go to
absolutely.
because, like you said, they know you. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So, given that they know you in particular hospitals, how many? This may seem a bit of a silly question, but like, how many people do the staff have to get to know? If that makes sense.
Oh, well, so when we talk about the hospital knowing you,
Hmm.
what they're actually talking about is the hematology medical team. So that
Okay.
doesn't actually help you when you present to A&E. So when you present in A&E, they don't know you.
Hmm.
And so you have to fight to get to
To that team,
that
that
team. Yeah,
department.
yeah.
Mm.
So you still have to, even if you go to a hospital, you still got to struggle. That day the nurse might be on someone who is, these sickle cell patients, they're just crying all the time.
Mhm.
They're just here for drugs. If you
Mhm.
get that nurse on shift, you you gotta ride it out. I feel for you. I've been there. Like, you gotta ride it out till you get there. But the hematology teams, they gotta know their patients.
Mm.
And it's funny, I went to a medical conference earlier in the year and
Mhm.
they were saying that all genetic diseases across the globe are decreasing in prevalence
Okay.
besides sickle cell.
Wow.
Sickle cell is the only genetic illness that's increasing
Increasing.
globally in prevalence. So if you think about, even in somewhere like the UK where we
Mhm.
have free healthcare
Mhm.
and reliable testing, I say reliable because there are some countries that will say, oh, you're HBAA and you're not.
Mm. Mm.
um, it's still increasing here. And so what that means is the hematology teams have such a burden placed on them. One hospital is servicing thousands and thousands and
Mhm.
thousands of patients. And it's just, yeah. And if you think as well, it's not a black disease, but
Mhm.
it does impact black people at a higher rate.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the genesis of the illness.
Yeah.
Black people tend to be in concentrated areas in the UK,
Mhm.
and so it will be the same hospitals suffering,
Yeah.
whereas one hospital may not have any sickle patients,
Yeah.
way in one village somewhere in
Mhm.
Kent, but in London or Birmingham or wherever,
Yeah.
all of those hospitals will have a really high sickle patient base,
Mm.
and we'll have to know all of them. Yeah.
Hate to make this about race and politics, yeah. But when you mentioned about certain nurses saying to you, "Oh, you know what? It's just another sickle cell patient who
Mm.
just wants to get meds and things of that nature." Is that ever black nurses?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there are two issues.
Okay.
I will definitely never underplay the reality of racism in medical care.
Mm.
It impacts sickle patients so severely.
Wow.
Those seemingly
Mhm.
small beliefs or myths of black people don't feel pain, or
Mhm.
black people are more likely to be taking drugs or whatever, they impact sickle patients very significantly. So I never want to downplay racism in medicine. But the aunties that you think, oh,
Mhm.
them lot are wicked too. They're wicked too. And oftentimes it's cultural because sickle comes with cultural
Yeah.
stigmas as
Yeah.
well. So, like, for me, I'm Nigerian,
Mhm.
right? And there's a massive negative
Mhm.
stigma about sickle within Nigerian communities. So someone will come from Nigeria
Mhm.
with those preconceived notions about
Yeah.
people with sickle cell, and they'll work as a nurse. And what they don't realize is those preconceived notions that they have,
Mhm.
they're taking it out on the patient. I've
Yeah.
been there, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not exaggerating. It's not
Mhm.
untrue. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things. What are the preconceived notions that
Mm.
brought from Nigeria? And
Mm.
good morning, SCISAAC. I don't know what your name is. Good morning,
Morning, it's Sizak, but that's not
Isaac.
my name. It's just a handle.
Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. So what's your name?
Isaac's fine.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Good morning, good morning. What are your thoughts? What would you like to say?
First of all, yeah, thank you very much to the guests. The guests. Sorry, I didn't get her name, but yeah, I'm always a big fan of hearing about the stories of well, not really stories because that sounds a bit mythical, but accounts of
Mm,
events in the lives of people with sickle cell because it's something that's very. There's not enough of a platform in our community about what these individuals go through.
mm,
So uh, guest, remind me. First of all, what's the guest name? Just so I don't keep saying guest.
Shaniqua. You could call me Shan.
Okay, Shan. Well, pleasure to hear from you, Shan.
Mm.
Okay. What I wanted to ask, Shan. So your parents don't have sickle cell, right?
That's correct.
So they're both trait.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So do you hold any resentment towards them in that they? I
Mm,
don't imagine. Of course, it wouldn't be intentional, but
I
that
know what
they've
you want. Yeah.
inadvertently, yeah, created an individual that has sickle cell.
So I'll answer, no, I don't, And you know why? It's because they didn't know.
Mm.
So if they did know that they had trait and then still took the risk, I probably would hold some resentment. So I always wonder, like, how people who are in that scenario and they still say, oh, well, we love each other, it is what it is, we'll get through it. I wonder how they are going to navigate that, because naturally the child is going to, like, be looking at them sideways later in life. But I don't, because my parents didn't know. But what I will say is pain is funny, right? So I don't, now that I'm sat here like just not in crisis. But sometimes when I'm in crisis, sometimes I do think, like, not so much towards my parents, I think more to God.
Mm.
Like, why I gotta go through all of this? Like,
Mm.
like, why? I mean, when I'm like sober, not in pain and stuff, I have to remind myself everyone has struggles. I'm
Yeah.
not unique. Mine just happens to be my health. And ironically enough, it has boosted, I would say, my faith and my character.
Mm.
So yeah.
Isaac?
Beautiful answer.
Mm.
Thank you very much. Just to follow on with that. So, forgive me if I'm like intruding with these questions. So yeah, tell me to shut up if it's too much. Do you want to have kids in life, or do you have kids already?
So I don't have kids, no, but I am married, and so we do hope to have kids someday. I don't know when, but yeah, at some point.
Okay. And can I correctly assume that your partner is unaffected by any mutation to do with sickle cell?
Yeah, so for me personally, I would not date someone who had trait at all. Not like that's a non
Taboo.
yeah,
Non-negotiable.
non-negotiable. I'd rather not be dating
Okay.
or be single than
Well,
to yeah.
okay, we'll definitely touch on that then. But so, yeah, your partner's unaffected by any mutation, so they're otherwise healthy, right?
Yeah.
So if you do decide to procreate with your partner,
Mm.
all your children will be straight,
Yes, yeah.
and then so they will have this complication where there's this myth that individuals who are trait don't exhibit any sickle cell like symptoms, and
Yeah.
of course, yeah, that's not the case. So for those of you that aren't aware, if you do have the trait, if you're stressed physically, mentally, and whatnot, um, you can have
Yeah.
what I would say are very, very minor crisis events in comparison to those with sickle cell, but it of course should be taken into account, and that's something that's not properly described in literature. Well, I'm a
Mm.
scientist, I'm a researcher for those that aren't
Come on,
aware, but
Isaac.
Yes.
I appreciate it. But yeah, so I digress. So continue on with that. All of your offspring will have the trait, so
Yeah.
they're going to go into the world and have to skate smartly.
Mm.
I'll put it as
Yeah.
because they could inadvertently make an individual who has sickle cell. So
Mm.
what would you say to an argument to someone that you shouldn't have? And this is not my argument; it's just a
Mm.
question. That you shouldn't have kids because you're passing on this mutation that
Mm.
could lead to more people like yourself.
So I think that's an excellent question. So with sickle cell trait, Isaac's right. I've written about sickle trait and some of the symptoms that it comes with on my blog, Shaniqua Sickle Chronicles. So there is often this misconception that because somebody has trait, they don't have any symptoms whatsoever.
Mm.
Now, the chances that there are so many people who have sickle cell trait and they don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
So most people who have trait don't
Over 100 million.
yeah,
Over 100 million have the trait.
have trait.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are walking around with sickle trait, they don't know.
Yeah.
And because they're not getting any symptoms, they
Mhm.
haven't been tested or whatever. So most people don't experience symptoms, but some do. And so firstly, just to that point, if you do have sickle trait and you find that you are experiencing symptoms, advocate for yourself, because unfortunately, the likelihood is the medical side of things, they might push you away or say, oh, it's only trait, it's not a problem. So do advocate for yourself. And you raise a good question. So I had a friend, good friend, who had sickle trait, and he developed a very rare cancer that people with sickle cell trait are susceptible to, a type of kidney cancer that I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but the letters are RMC. And even me as a sickle patient, right, I didn't know that people with sickle. So I knew that if you have trait, you might have a crisis if you're like in labor, extreme stress, climbing a mountain, high altitude, or some trying to be a professional athlete and, training, and you see people collapse, and that tends to be they have underlying sickle trait. But I didn't know about this cancer. So in terms of having children with sickle trait, I think you have to, it's not that it's a numbers game, but sickle trait does have its benefits. The whole purpose of that mutation, it's a random mutation that happened, right? People are dying of malaria, and that mutation protects us from malaria. Not us, not me, but people with the trait have less, they have a natural defense, let's call it, against malaria. So that's
they're less susceptible to succumbing to the malaria infection.
That's where the traits. That's where how
how it even came about.
Exactly. So it was a random mutation by the body to protect itself.
Yeah.
And so if I look at, I guess, the numbers, more people benefit from that mutation protecting than I know so many people with trait, and I know I have this friend who passed away because of the RMC. And even that is due to lack of awareness and lack of investing in these sorts of conditions to have an answer to the problem once it arises, right? So I do think that, but then equally, I do think because I am how I am, how do I word? I want to word this without being disrespectful to people who don't think like I do. I just feel like my child cannot have sickle cell trait and come and tell me that they're marrying, having children with someone else with sickle cell trait or sickle cell. I'm not having it. Like do you get what? And I feel so strongly about that. So I would put this question to people who, like me, have sickle cell disease or sickle cell trait, and they don't business. They're like, oh yeah, whatever's whatever. Love is love. Love will overcome all things. All of that. Please explain yourself, because my parents love me, my husband loves me, my siblings love me, and when I'm in crisis, none of that love stops the pain. None of that love gets oxygen to my body. Do you get what I mean? So that's
Okay, again, fantastic answer, and thank you for answering.
Thank you.
So I completely understand where you're coming from, and I would have to, and again, I completely see. I can't emphasize enough that I completely understand where you're coming from, and especially with someone with sickle cell, and you go through that experience, like you go through that experience firsthand, various hospitalizations and the complications that are associated with the condition. But I would say I would have to politely disagree. If you have sickle cell and you reproduce with somebody who has the trait, there's a 50-50 chance as to whether your offspring would have the trait or also have the full-blown sickle cell disease.
Yes.
But that NHS offers IVF, where you'd be able to select embryos that, select embryos to proceed with pregnancy that only have the trait. So that's something that unfortunately not enough people are aware of. So
yes, that's a good shout.
So and I'm not a big fan of, again, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I'm not a big fan of the fearful aspects that we can speak about the condition with that sort of like wards people off. So I've heard, I like to have conversations about this. I've heard stories mainly from Black women, that talk about sharing that they have the condition, and the guy just being like terrified and running because they don't understand how the condition is passed on and whatnot. And that, it's not something that you should be really scared of, because like these individuals like yourselves are like, normal people that are affected by genetic condition, but they're just as worthy as love as the average person, the average unaffected person, and that yeah, you deserve love. So for me, objectively, I wouldn't be against two people, and I say objectively, I wouldn't be against two people who have sickle cell
Yeah.
procreating. Why? Because it's not for any of us to govern the love situation of
That's
someone like yourself. Of course, as long as they're aware that their offspring will have the same debilitating condition, then go by how you see it. I think those of us, especially those of us who are not affected by the condition, shouldn't really have a say so. But again, I completely understand where you're coming from.
So, Mr. Scientist, I'm enjoying this so far because obviously Iman can get a rest. Are you suggesting also that one shouldn't look to share with somebody new that they have the trait?
I don't think that's what he's
No, I know. He's being provocative, so I can also.
Oh no,
do
don't.
the same.
I'm familiar with Brent's partner, as it were. So I wouldn't be tricked. I wouldn't be tricked out of my position, unfortunately. So you said that I'm. So you're saying your question as to whether I'm saying that individuals with the trait shouldn't share that they have the trait.
Let me show you my thought process, right? Because you pushed
Sure.
back and said there is a stigma when somebody hears that person has sickle cell trait. I think it's a man who hears it from a woman, and they kind of run away because what they fear that might incur.
Yeah.
So, and then you went on to say that you would advocate for two people who have this particular.
I know. I never said I wouldn't. I would advocate. Let's choose our words
All right,
carefully.
love is most important here, right? You focus on the love part of it, right?
No, it's not the love. It's more so that they should have a right to choose, irrespective of how silly the decision can be perceived to be.
Because of love.
Average people who are unaffected by the condition make silly decisions in regards to love all the time. So why shouldn't somebody with sickle cell?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't somebody with sickle cell be afforded the same luxuries?
I hear it.
All right, cool. All right. Obviously, I'm actually looking for somebody who has sickle cell to, have
Kids with?
relations with. Because obviously,
By all means, and
because
I encourage you,
Isaac is saying it's such a great thing, right? And the most important thing is that I love her, right? Love trumps everything, right?
You're saying this. You're saying I'm just listening.
I want Shaniqua to jump in. I want her to jump in because it's one thing, right? Just following Willie and Nani, right? And then it's the next thing actually going through living with this.
Exactly.
It's very, very different, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you yourself even said that
course,
about,
Also, one thing, so I accept Isaac's point, right, about the right to life, the right to choice and stuff. But I think the difficulty that I have is that it's not them. If it was that two people with trait or whatever, they procreate and then they get the disease, choose away, love away. But because it's not them that will suffer the consequences. I mean, they'll suffer the consequences maybe of, sleepless nights, going to the hospital, whatever, but they're not living it. I think that's where I struggle. I think if it was impacting, and ironically enough, this might be a bit controversial. I was going to say, I think a lot of people in that situation, if it was them that would get the disease, suddenly love wouldn't be enough.
Facts.
People don't know, when you haven't got children, like I don't have children, you don't know how much you're going to love that child until the child comes, and then you're regretting, like, why did I do this to them? Why? And it's too late.
Exactly.
Okay, so it comes back to the question. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
That should people with sickle cell be procreating then? Because as it stands, the biggest proponents of the condition are not those with sickle cell, because as despite what I said, two individuals with sickle cell are not going to procreate 9 times out of 10 because they have the first-hand experience of what a debilitating condition that this is. So they're not going to put their offspring through that. It's the people who haven't gotten genotypes, who have the trait, but are otherwise fine, and they're two individuals with this genotype are procreating, and there's a 25%. Oh, I didn't break it down. Sorry. So two individuals with the trait, there's a 25% chance that all of their offspring will be fine. There's a 50% chance that the offspring will be trait, and there's a 25% chance that the offspring will have full-blown sickle cell. So these two individuals are coming, and again, it's very prominent in our community as well. As I said, around the world, there's over 100 million, right? So you otherwise won't know. So one night stand, one thing leads to another. There's a child, and the child has sickle cell, right? So they are the biggest proponents of it because they don't know. So
Mm.
so yeah. So that leads to the question: should people, once you find out your genotype and you have the HBB gene mutation, which leads to sickle cell,
Mm.
whether it's trait or whether it's full blown sickle cell, should these people be reproducing? And this is just a thought question. This is not something I
Mm.
believe. I'm just posing it to the guest.
No, I think it's worth exploring. So I would say yes, they should. And the reason I would say that is for two reasons. Partly because of um well, what I think is important to save the protective gene that people have.
Mm.
Malaria is, I mean, they always say the animal that kills the most human beings is the mosquito because malaria, like, I've got cousins in Nigeria, I've got family in Nigeria, I know how they suffer with malaria. And if that's the no one is investing in, well, at least not that I'm aware of, investing in finding cures to malaria, and people are dying
Mhm.
like at large quantities year in year out. And so if this is the only way to protect, then yes. But I also follow that to its logical conclusion, right? That means there would be an increase in the population with sickle cell trait. One of two things happens: either the protective gene becomes redundant, and the mosquito becomes what's it? It learns how to
Mhm.
fight through. I can't use this. I don't know the scientific term, but you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
it will become redundant. It won't be protective anymore, or the rate of sickle cell trait increases so significantly within particular populations, black populations, Asian populations, Mediterranean, that we all have to intermarry. Like there's no more black love, Mediterranean love. Can you like? So I hear that too, and for that I don't have an answer. I can't lie. I haven't thought that far ahead, but I appreciate the challenge nonetheless.
Isaac.
Okay. Yeah. I no, I completely see where you're coming from. I would say that it is possible, but it's very unlikely that any mutations will evolve in the mosquito to overcome
Mm,
the protection that the HBB gene that leads to the trait or sickle cell provides. Just because, yeah, as you said, the red blood cells become sickled, so they become like shaped like a croissant, as it were,
mm,
and this makes them less susceptible to the malaria infection, and then sort of like spreading that around the body via the red blood cell. So, but no, you raise good points, and it's not so much for me to like come back at you.
mm.
I just like hearing it. I just like the conversation that it coaxes, and
Yeah,
just generally that it gets us to talk about sickle cell. So
yeah.
yeah, thank you very
No,
much. And
I hear it.
yeah, I'm gonna keep listening. I might have further questions, but
I
yeah,
have
that's it.
I really appreciate your contribution so far.
Indeed.
Good morning, Chijoke.
Morning, morning. Yeah, yeah, this is a topic that's quite close to me. I don't know if I've said before, but I've actually got a daughter that has sickle cell as well. Um, so one of the questions that I did want to ask is just in terms of how you met your partner and what the conversations were, because I think some of the conversations that seem to have been had was dating outside the race because you have sickle,
Mm.
because they're less likely to have the trait. I don't know if those were thoughts that you had when you were dating.
So I think this is a really great question. Dating was really difficult, really, really difficult. So I met my husband at church, and we were friends for a long time. It was maybe about 4 years. And during those 4 years, I was really unwell. And he, along with other friends in church, would always like be there, always be present, and so on. Um, but him more so. I don't think I realized it at the time. It's only in retrospect when I think back. Yeah, so him more so than very many of the group of friends. Um, and my nurses used to joke all the time, "Oh, your boyfriend's here," da, da. And I used to think, "Oh, he's just my brethren, like whatever." But eventually, yeah, we did have a conversation and decided to date. We dated for about 3 years. We got married last year.
Come on,
He is black. He's Jamaican.
come on.
And so what I will say is when I think back to my dating experiences, so I had an ex-boyfriend who was like, "Oh, it will be fine as long as we don't tell his mum," which is ridiculous, right? Because what happens if I'm pregnant? You know, if a pregnant woman who doesn't have sickle has, I don't know how many appointments they have, 10 appointments. Someone with sickle is going to have 25. If I have a crisis, what we like, I'm, and also I'm a strong advocate for informed decision making. I'm not lying about my condition to anybody. I'm not withholding it. Personally, I feel, and I have always done, share the fact that I've got sickle. I'm doing it on the first date. Do you know why? Because I don't want to waste my time investing emotionally in someone who's going to run away. Um, Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes people think that they can handle it. And time progresses and they realize, oh no, this is peak. Like this isn't what I signed up for. They don't want to be a carer or whatever, and so they leave. And if I'm honest, I'm not even against them leaving, so to speak. I'd rather they leave and not cause me great distress. And I do think people should have the right to choose and make an informed decision. But conversely, I do think people like that should also consider maybe not getting married because life happens, right? My own is that I have an illness that I was born with, but 70% of people with illnesses weren't born with them. So they acquire those illnesses in marriage. So if you're not willing, if you're not willing to be a carer at the like, just don't get married. Just
Nah. Isaac's not having that. Sorry. He's my patty now. He's not having that. He's pushing back on that one.
Speak for me, Brent. Don't speak for me.
That's my personal belief. I just feel like you should work on one's character so that stuff like that doesn't matter. But I won't lie, dating is hard. My advice would be to be open and honest about the condition as early as possible, and to see it as a blessing if you tell someone and they leave. Because that's not someone you want to build a life with. You don't want to have, you know, commitments with someone, lives intertwined, and they leave. Um, that will cause far more discomfort and issues in life. And also to be open. So I pretty much only date black guys. I've had one ex that wasn't black. And he didn't really get the condition anyway. I can't lie. He would, it wasn't a positive experience with regarding the illness. So I've never really considered. Oh, and he wasn't white. I should say that as well. So I've never, because that I think often when that conversation comes into play, that's what people actually mean is, oh, you will have to date white because they won't have the gene. We're in the UK where there is testing. So someone who is black they shouldn't just be walking around without knowing that they've got this trait. It's different in other countries where, a test might, you can probe someone and the test says what you want it to say. That's a different ball game. But here, I think there's very many people, if presuming that your daughter wants to date black, there are very many people who are black, who don't have the trait, who will date. I mean, by the name Chijoke, I hope I'm not presuming incorrectly, but I do presume that the name means you're Nigerian. So what I will say is, dating Nigerian was an impossibility for me. That one I will say.
Yeah, no, I can honestly say it was a conversation that was had a lot in my household. There were issues, so
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't smooth sailing.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, and this is something that I've seen in the chat, but wasn't really an experience I found. It was finding out whether I had the trait or not. So my GP was able to do it, but I've seen some people say their GPs won't, and
Yes.
some people have also found as well. And also, when I donate blood as well, donating blood, they also told me
Tell
about the
you.
trait. But
Yeah.
it seems that that's not always the case for some people. I don't know whether your husband knew before you started dating, or whether it was a conversation that was had as you progressed.
So he knew before we started dating. We were friends first, so
Okay.
he knew I had sickle from jump. And to the earlier question about the, so I want to be sure, I want to be, obviously I'm Nigerian, right? So I only know the Nigerian context. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just here shitting on Nigerian guys. No, like, because I know so many people with sickle who are not Nigerian, who are from other countries,
Mm.
and have the same experience, that trying to date within their culture is really difficult with sickle because of the stigma that sickle carries. So a lot of people wouldn't like I would challenge people to speak to their parents about sickle cell, and it's only in doing that that you'll realize how much sickle patients have to endure stigma wise. If you are from pretty much any, I would have said any African country, but I have a friend who lives in Jamaica, and she said it's the same there. Like, and you say, oh, I've got a partner and they've got sickle cell disease. If they know what sickle cell disease, it's almost like it's impossible. Like when I was born, someone was telling my mum, don't invest too much in that one. Like, do you get what? Like, that's what we're dealing with here. And so, because people grow up in households that have those beliefs, even if they don't say it, when it comes to their door, they will say it. You get what I mean? That's what makes it so difficult.
You've touched on the Nigerian beliefs again,
Mm.
and I still don't know what happens in Nigeria.
Oh yes.
So
Isaac was talking.
That's fine.
no,
Thank you, Isaac.
it's not Nigerians alone. So let me just preface
We're
that.
here.
Yeah. But I'm Nigerian, so that's my lived experience. So I'm Yoruba, right? There's a slur in Yoruba, abiku, which means a child destined for death.
Whoa.
That's what they call us. Yeah, that's how will you say that to someone's child? If someone said that to your child, would you like it? I use that to demonstrate how severe the stigma is. Like, if someone has a child with sickle, they'll say to them, don't bother sending them to school because they're just going to die. It's going to be a waste of your money. Don't bother investing in them, this, that, and you will, if you ever do meet people with sickle, I mean, I was born here, but if you do meet people with sickle who were born in Nigeria, you notice, and they've got siblings as well, you'll notice they tend to be fractured from their siblings. They tend to be struggling in like how to progress in life and so on and so forth. And it's because all of these things are what is their normal in their formative years. It impacts the child. I mean, I've seen it in, Congo's another one. I know so many people with sickle who are from Congo, and their papa just leaves. Like, he doesn't eat. It's not my child. I'm not sick. It's something, and they just go. Like, the sickle patients are really suffering.
Can I just say, it's definitely not a pushback thing, but it's more so the whole Yoruba thing that you mentioned. Do you understand where it comes from? Obviously, you understand where it's come from, but I mean more so, do you sympathize with?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so because when there's a lack of healthcare, the likelihood that the child gets to grow up and live a full life is slim, right? And when you're growing up in an environment of extreme poverty, sometimes you do got to make decisions, and that doesn't always. So sickle is the example I use now, right? But I remember the first time I went to Nigeria, and I stayed with my auntie. She had a houseboy and a house girl. I even hate that concept, but she did, right? And in the day, the boy wasn't there, but the girl was. And I remember saying something about it to my parents, and they were, "Oh, the boy will go to school." I said, "So what about the girl?"
Yeah.
But when money is tight, so I guess the way my dad explained it to me was their thinking is the boy will grow up to be a man and will have to provide for the household.
Yeah.
The girl will grow up to be a woman and she will just marry somebody. Yeah. And that's what they have to look forward to, is when the daughter comes along, is just getting her to marry someone who will look after her, and she'll be able to have kids. And so in that regard, because it's poverty driven, it's lack of healthcare driven, it's miseducation driven. I do empathize, but equally I don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because obviously you're in that situation. You know how it is. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to make it seem as though your view on it is bad at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I fully understand. But I think in my head, because obviously I know the background, I'm thinking back to times where, like, I remember maybe it would have been maybe about 10 plus years ago, right? Just reading up about sickle cell, and I believe they said the average age that people pass away was something like 50 something,
Yeah.
and that's in the UK, right?
And that's even good.
In
When I
good
was
situations,
born, it was 5.
You see what I'm saying? So when I think back home,
Mm,
and hence, like you said, I'd be cool, right? Like Born to Die, like you said, yeah.
mm.
It's because so many at that
Yeah,
age,
we're dying.
you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So it,
And Yoruba is that sort of language, isn't it? It's very descriptive.
yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
that's why you said give them grace, because it's
Because of
just
where
their
it
way
came
of
from.
communicating
Yes.
Exactly.
the thing that happens all the time.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so it wasn't so much to um, look into the future. You are quite aged compared to the reference, right?
Yes.
So maybe they don't say it anymore.
No, they do. So
Then why you give them grace?
So it depends on who you're giving grace to. It depends on who you're giving. So
Mm.
I can understand that for like older generations for sure.
Mm.
But what I will say is, particularly on social media, I've seen people. I'm laughing. It's not funny. It's not funny. But if I don't laugh,
Yeah.
I won't have an adequate response. But I've seen people say things like, you know, in a Nigerian context specifically, this is, you know, people with sickle cell are an evolutionary, you know, mistake. If not for healthcare, they wouldn't be here. That's Abiku. They're destined for death. Just, yeah, don't ever marry someone. I mean, again, this mainly in a Nigerian context or African context. But the reason it's important to bust those myths, right, is because oftentimes when I meet people who believe those things and I tell them I've got sickle, they find it really hard to believe. They expect people with sickle cell to look a certain way and present a certain way.
Yeah.
And I say, well, no, like, it's a lack of healthcare that does that.
Yeah.
Once you have healthcare and access to medication, you can live as healthy and as full and long a life as almost anyone. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was born, the life expectancy in Nigeria was 5. In the UK, it was 10. I'm past both of those, in case you didn't know.
I think it was a few years
Right.
ago. There was something where somebody was online. She had sickle cell and she was like 70 something. She was celebrating her 70 something birthday. So yeah, things are
Yeah.
improving, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, thank God, man.
Sorry, can I
Sorry,
just
Chijoke, go on.
ask quickly? Sorry. Go on.
No, you were
No, I'll just,
you were speaking.
yeah, no, sorry. No, go on.
No,
No, no,
we interrupted you, bro.
yeah.
I was just, I mean, it might be personal, but can I ask how old you are or whether you've said already?
Yeah, no, sure thing. I'm 35. No, I'm 36. My
Come on.
birthday was last month.
Oh,
Come
Come
on.
on.
okay. Okay.
F Abby
You
cool.
definitely don't look it. That's why I was like, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Can I please interject?
Good morning, Temi. How are you?
Morning, I'm fine, thank you. Morning, Eddie. I'm really passionate about this subject. I don't know. I myself have had a sister who's passed away from sickle cell. I have a niece who lives with sickle cell, and a cousin who also lives with sickle cell. My cousin is in her 40s now, and that was something that like people never thought, like people in the family never thought that she would even live this long. She's now a PhD holder.
Come
and she's
on.
doing fantastic things. She lives in America. She's amazing. I love her so much. But I just wanted to mention maybe 3 things. Obviously, you know, I'm the book club queen.
Plug.
So just in terms of what you were talking about, in terms of like Yoruba, there's a really fantastic book that I want everybody to read, even if you don't like reading. Please try to read it. It's called Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. It's a fictional book, but it really speaks about that whole kind of like language around a child being born to die, and what it's like living with sickle cell. I don't want to give any spoilers because actually it's a really gripping and fantastic book. So I'm giving you all homework to go and read it, and then hopefully, because I know some of you take ages, maybe like next September or whenever you can like say you can speak about how you felt once you read it. But then also I wanted to ask, I believe, yeah, that's the book. Woo! I believe I saw Shaniqua, and I'm not sure if you know because I heard that you were saying about attending conferences and stuff. I'm pretty sure I saw recently that in America, a boy. I'm not pretty sure. I feel like I saw that a boy was cured of sickle cell from a particular like treatment. I don't know if it's that maybe it has
I
something to
was
do
going to
with like.
bring it up as well.
I might
I
be
saw
able to
some.
speak to that.
I saw that too. Yeah.
So there are cures to sickle cell. They're just inaccessible and very expensive, and not available on the NHS for most people actually. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
sorry. Yeah, Isaac's probably
I'm
better to
yeah.
explain actually.
So
And then
yeah,
other Isaac, when you answer that question, just to interject with the follow up thing because it might intertwine, it's just in terms of if say that cure isn't available. I have seen as well a lot of people who have been able to maybe like really suppress their crisis with like maybe their diet and like maybe in quotes like a healthier kind of
Lifestyle.
wholesome lifestyle living. So if we can discuss both of those.
We're gonna get into that one. Don't worry, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will need to be leaving shortly, but I will try and tap back in later if you guys are still talking about it. So essentially, with the therapy, with the cure/therapy options, so there is a bone marrow transplant, but I'm not a clinician. I'm a scientist, so clinical advice isn't really my place. But having said that, the complications that can accompany a bone marrow transplant aren't great. Speaking lightly of it, so you can get this really nasty condition called graft versus host disease, which is essentially where, so with a bone marrow, it's coming from a healthy donor, but that healthy donor will have their own immune system, which isn't compatible with yours, or which isn't going to be perfectly compatible with yours. So your immune system will be attacking their cells, their immune system will be attacking your cells, and then it gets into it leads to this nasty condition, as I said, graft versus host disease, that essentially will lead to a loss of life. In the UK and the US, and I believe another Western country, I want to say Australia, but I'm not sure. There's a gene editing therapy that's come about called Casgevy. It also goes by another name, but Casgevy is the commercial name, I want to say. And essentially, what it entails is it's not widely available, as Shan said, because we're still researching it. Well, I say we. I'm a cancer researcher specifically, but I do like to stay well read on sickle cell. So we're essentially researching. What it entails is that individuals, mainly as it stands, kids, because they will be able to withstand the duration and complications of the therapy, which I'll get onto. So essentially, individuals with more severe iterations of sickle cell, they'll be given a drug that will cause their hematopoietic stem cells. So these are the stem cells which carry the mutation, but in all of us, these are the stem cells in our bone marrow which give rise to all of our blood cells. So red blood cells, white blood cells, and the like. And so it causes these. The drug causes these hematopoietic stem cells to leak out into your bloodstream, so that a clinician will be able to draw out the blood and send it to scientists like myself, who will be able to isolate these stem cells and do gene editing on them. So for those of you who are interested, there's a gene called BCL11A, and essentially we silence that gene so that the production of fetal hemoglobin, which isn't sickle, doesn't carry the mutation, can occur. But prior to putting those stem cells, the autologous is the word, the autologous stem cells, so the autologous meaning coming from oneself, so that there wouldn't be an immune reaction when the cells are placed back into the patient. The patient needs to go through rounds of chemotherapy, which is the bottleneck as it stands with the therapy, because chemotherapy is cytotoxic, so it kills cells. As many of you will be aware, it's the main therapy for a variety of cancers. And so they go through chemotherapy to essentially strip them of all the inherently mutated stem cells within their bone marrow that produce the mutated hemoglobin and subsequently the sickled red blood cells. So once they've been stripped of these mutated cells, and I should add as well, whoever's looking to do this, or whoever might be interested in doing this therapy once it becomes widely available, please freeze your sperm or egg cells. This is because chemotherapy can affect your fertility, or can compromise it to some degree. So just as a precursor, it would be helpful if you decide, or if you would want to raise a family in life or future, please do so. But yeah, so they go through the chemotherapy, and once they've been stripped of their inherently mutated cells, these the gene edited stem cells are then, the word is engrafted, but so essentially placed back into them to repopulate their circulatory system with healthy red blood cells.
Bless you, young man.
And as it as it stands, it is curative is the word. It's hard to say because researchers are monitoring individuals are crisis free, vaso-occlusive crisis free for at least a year, but we're still monitoring, and hopefully that will remain the case. But researchers are working on therapies that don't involve chemotherapy, so that the individual won't have that bout to go with. But yeah, we're working specifically on gene editing in vivo, so that just means within the person, so that we can directly attack the HBV gene mutation and cause the silence of it, and cause the production of healthy hemoglobin, so that the red blood cells are healthy. So it's not all doom and gloom. We are working on it, but yeah, research is a slow and laborious process. But yeah, the work is definitely being done. But I do need to leave now, so I just want to leave on this. According to my calculations, which I don't make mistakes, I'm joking, but yeah, don't make a lot of them.
Black Rob could never.
Relative to relative to our population in the UK, damn near less than 1% of us are donating blood, and this is very, very important for individuals with sickle cell that require frequent transfusion. So yeah, if there's one thing that I've said that you're going to listen to, please donate your blood, because I don't want to hear anyone talking about excelling the black community and you don't donate blood. What
Come
are we
on.
doing?
Yeah.
What on earth
Shot.
are we
Can we
doing?
throw some horns on
Shot.
that?
That's a kidney shot. That's a kidney
Mic
shot.
drop.
But yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, I'm just gonna leave on that. And yeah, Shan, you also mentioned a cancer, which thank you for sharing, because I wasn't aware of this. So I believe you're talking about renal cell carcinoma with the
That's
kidney
it.
cancer that your
Yes.
friend developed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to look into that because I didn't know about that. So this is why I enjoy the conversations, because I learn a lot too.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for, yeah, Shan, it's very brave what you're doing, coming on these platforms and talking. So I heavily commend you for that.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, God bless. And yeah, I'll see if I can tune in later.
Come on.
Thank you, Isaac.
Come on.
Make sure you call up more often, man.
My pleasure. No worries.
All right. Was Chijuke say something before?
He
It
was
wasn't
speaking, yes.
Chijuke?
Sorry, I was being rude there? I was just saying throw some horns, but I apologize.
That's all right.
So I think, yeah, Isaac's just gone, but I was gonna talk about the drug treatments that they do tend to give out. So I don't know for yourself, Shaniqua, but I know for my daughter, her fetal hemoglobin levels are actually quite good for sickle. And that's one of the things that they were saying has helped, because she's, in terms of the crisis, she's not had as bad as I've heard some other children have had. But one of the drugs that they were recommending at one point was hydroxycarbamide. I don't know if you've had any specific to help with the fetal hemoglobin rising, and it did work quite well for her. But as she's got older, she's noticed there's some side effects that she didn't want. So she has tried to go down the healthy diet way, and we've been monitoring that with her. But I don't know if you've had any experience with certain drugs that you've spoken about, or that you've gone through, that I don't know if we were able to go further into that.
Yeah, sure. So, I've taken hydroxycarbamide, in my early 20s. I took it for a couple of years, but it didn't really stop the crisis for me. Not really. I've also had transfusions. So there are two different types of blood transfusions. There's a top up, where they just put the donor blood in you, and there's an exchange where they remove sickled cells and put the donor blood in you. So I was on the top ups for ages. The problem with just topping up is every bag of blood has a set amount of iron in it, and so over time you get iron overload, which I did have. and I took a range of drugs for that iron overload. Again, this goes back to the side effects, the side complications that come with sickle, that they're not crisis, but they affect your daily living. So I had iron overload for ages. I was taking an X-ray medication, that was the name of the medication, for a long period of time. It didn't do anything. And so I ended up having to I had to inject myself every day with this, I don't know what to call it. It's like a syringe driver that used to deliver medication over 16 hours. And about a year and a half of that, and then the iron overload came down. And so now I'm on the exchange transfusion. So they take out the sickle blood. Well, they take out blood. They can't actually just take out sickle blood. They take out blood. It goes into this machine. It's a dialysis machine, and it spins the blood, pulls out the sickled red cells, and everything else goes back in, as well as the donor blood, so that hopefully over time it reduces the sickle percentage.
No, I was just gonna say, so as it comes out, is it like a centrifuge?
Yes.
Sort of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happens in real time in that machine, and then back into.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really good because it's time is efficient. Top up transfusions, like you'd be there all day.
Yeah.
Like for 2 bags of blood. With the exchanges, I get 8 units of blood every 6 weeks. And it takes like half a day. I mean, I'm wiped out afterwards, but it's quicker. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question before when I mentioned the whole race thing.
I'm saving all of the questions that people are asking me with favorited it. So once it is that I get to the point where man hands over to me, I'll read the questions out to Shan.
Okay. Mention the race thing. With regards to like politics, I guess, right? And how over time, last maybe, I don't know, 2 to 5 years, whatever, we're speaking about, to be fair, it's been longer than that. The NHS being just struggling, basically. Have you noticed that change personally over the years?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Especially if you go to the same hospital in the same ward, you see it. I was having this conversation with a nurse. I was in hospital last month. No, the month before that, July. And I was saying exactly that. I said, it's funny, I've been coming to this hospital like for 2 decades.
Yeah.
Coming to this ward for 2 decades. And I can physically see the disintegration of the NHS.
Wow.
Yeah, physically see it.
And do they try and get you out earlier as well?
Yeah, I mean, most sickle patients will tell you the chances that you are discharged from hospital and you're completely pain-free is slim anyway. Like, the moment that pain is like 4 out of 10, they're like, yeah, you go home. There are people here with like 6, 7, 8 out of 10 or whatever. So there is that. But also, there's beds in corridors. That when I was like younger, even in my early 20s, I'd never go into A&E and spend the night in the corridor. The last 2 admissions I had, I was in the corridor for my poor husband. He didn't even have a chair. He was just standing there all night, and he can't leave, right? Because it's a corridor. It's not a ward. You don't have a call bell. And so the treatment for sickle crisis is pain relief. And so if I can't call them to give me the pain relief, so he can't leave. He has to stand there so that every hour he goes to find whoever and say, oh, she needs a pain relief now. She's due for a pain relief now. Yeah, it's I really feel for people who don't have anyone to be with them, to advocate for them when they're struggling or going through health scenarios.
2 questions before we go into the questions from the chat, with regards to that.
Sorry, I was just going to say, sorry to interject.
Yeah, go on.
Can I just ask as well, did you find a difference when you were younger to when you became adult? Because one of the things that they have told us is pediatric care for sickle cell patients is very different to when you get to an adult. And there does seem to be that disconnect as you get older.
Yeah, so this goes back to, I was talking about in Nigeria, there's this belief about the child won't survive. That same belief exists in the UK. It just doesn't manifest itself in the same way. So there isn't like a slur that says, oh, you guys are going to do this. But it manifests itself in a lack of research. There is, I mean, I go to a lot of medical conferences. I want to stay clued up in the know. All the research, all the testing is always pediatrics because no one expected us to be living to the ages that we're living now. And so what that means is pediatric care is really great. And then you get to adult care and it's not. And so things like transition programs are essential. Anyone with a child with sickle, you want to start prepping them for adult care from about age 12, age 13. Little things you can do, exercises at home, teach them how to advocate for themselves, because there will be times when they're in hospital and they have to advocate for themselves, and the people that are supposed to be caring for them will hold it against them if they're rude. Even though they're in pain and suffering, they will hold it against them. So learn how to teaching them how to advocate for themselves in I mean, this is all respectability politics, isn't it? But in a polite way, you know, some things I've noticed, for example, if I have a crisis at work and I go into hospital in office wear, I'm respected. If I go into hospital from home in the middle of the night and I fling on a tracksuit, I'm treated like trash. Little things like that, teaching your child how to navigate those sorts of racialized scenarios, and ensuring that your child has like prep them, like teaching them their medication, what they take, why they take it, do they have any allergies, what is their medical history, like prepping them so that, because what tends to happen is children hit age 16 or 18, depending on where you live, and they're just flung into adult services and they have to learn to swim. That's what happened to me. And it's not pleasant, it's not pretty. The difference between the adult hospital and the children's hospital is so great. Yeah, so that's really important, actually. You raise a good point.
Thanks for that, Chijuke.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry.
Can I ask something quickly? You don't have to answer it first. You can maybe after you've done the list of questions. It's just a bit long to type. That's why. My niece, for example, she's about to go to uni, so she's going to experience living on her own, having to do things on her own, basically. Do you have any advice for like that kind of uni age, where you're at that age where like sort of mentality wise, you're, you know, you might want to do what your friends are doing, you might be encouraged to try different things, but just in terms of like what might trigger a crisis, and you know, the fact that you're away for like 2 to 3 years, do you have any advice for like a young woman or man of that age?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first piece of advice is, especially if you're going to university in the UK, look for the Disabled Students Union or Disabled Student Association and make sure they know you. And I say that because, so before I got to uni, obviously I would have done GCSEs and A level. And then when I was applying for uni, a teacher told me that I needed to apply to this Disabled Student association or whatever, and I did. And I did bare assessments that day, and they told me that I write at a percent, like 50% slower than a normal person. You know what I mean? So the average person can write 30 words in a minute, and I was stuck on 17. I didn't even know that sickle was impacting my wrist. So I was already at a disadvantage for GCSE and A level without knowing it. But because they identified it, they were able to put in adjustments, so like extra time in exams, and there are other adjustments. That's just the one I needed, but there are loads that they can offer. So that would be my first piece of advice, to make sure you have that assessment, because there will be things that you don't know. I didn't know that I had that, so that's important. Because I say that because a lot of, like, for me at the time as well, I would have said I'm not disabled. I wouldn't say that now, but that's how I felt. You get what I mean? So there are things you don't know. The second I would say is, so I don't really drink alcohol, but if you are a drinker, remember alcohol dehydrates. It dehydrates everyone, not just people with sickle cell. But for people with sickle cell, dehydration is a major trigger. So if you are going to go out drinking, make sure you're balancing your alcohol intake with water intake so that you're not dehydrated. I'm big on partying, as I spoke about. If you're a big partier, apply wisdom. Like, don't be doing Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, no sleep, going to lectures Monday. Like, tiredness like that, like extreme exhaustion, will trigger a crisis. Don't do that. Recreational drug use, don't do that. like respect. Just I'm not even going to say just don't do it, because the people that you're following who are doing it probably aren't on any medication and you are. And the last thing you want is for something to react with the medication you're on, unless you're studying pharmaceutical sciences and you know that. But yeah, I don't. So I don't play with anything. And also, actually, on recreational drug use, that's important because the medication that they give us, morphine, oxycodone, fentanyl, it's all medicinal heroin, isn't it? You don't want to build up a tolerance to anything that when you're in crisis, suddenly nothing works. Gas and air is what they put in these balloons now in it. So don't be taking that. You don't want to have to be calling an ambulance for crisis and nothing works because you've exhausted your cells with recreational drug use. Yeah, so I would say learn your body, find the GP on campus, apply wisdom. You can still live life, have fun, but yeah, just don't go following people.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, I was going to ask you. Obviously, the NHS has done a good job over the years, right? But have you considered private healthcare?
So I have private healthcare, but it doesn't help in terms of sickle. Firstly, private healthcare doesn't have any blue light service. And by blue light, I mean like emergency service, ambulance and that. So most people with sickle, when they go into hospital, that's what they need is acute care. So private doesn't really help with that. And then also, what private maybe can help with is if you need surgery or you need a test, like an eye test or something, and maybe private can help with that. They can expedite it quicker.
Yeah.
But you have to also remember they don't have your background files in terms, I use eye as an example, right? So I'm currently not losing my sight, but I have my sight has disintegrated. I never noticed. It was my husband that picked it up that I should be able to see things that I can't see, like the text up that I can't see it.
Wow.
It just looks like lines. So sickle can impact the eye. There are two particular diseases that can be caused in the eye. Now, an optician is an eye specialist, right? You go to the optician. They don't know nothing about sickle. So what they can't do, they can test your eye in the way that they would test someone else. Same with private healthcare, ophthalmology, they can test it the way they would, but they don't know about the background of the illness and how it impacts the eye and how to test for that. So those are the gaps that come with private healthcare in the UK.
Okay. And my last question before we go to the chat and then we'll come back again, right? Obviously, we spoke about the physical changes, how it's impacted you physically and things of that nature. What about mental health?
Mental health is really important. Do you know why, right? Because sometimes you're really ill, like really ill, really ill. ICU ill. I remember one time I woke up and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, had this thing over my head. I was in a ventilator. And I saw my parents there, and I know it's not visiting hours, right? So immediately I know they've called my parents because it's like peak.
Yeah.
And then after you get well, in the scenarios where someone does get better, you're supposed to go back to normal life, like, and just be normal, like, just
just
yeah,
go out
like,
there and
this
continue.
never happened. Like, so I think mental health care is so important for, if no other reason than that. But I do think also people's family background matters. If you have come from a background where, you're feeling a certain type of way towards parents or loved ones because you have the illness, all of that, I think mental health care helps address that in a healthy way. And so I think that's really important. There isn't enough mental health support within sickle care in the UK. I mean, the UK is better than some places, but it's still not what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had to deal with stuff that's affected your mental health, like maybe depression as a result of maybe frequent hospital visits and things of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. I think 2019, at the time, I don't think I identified it, but in retrospect, I can see I was definitely in a really low point. I thought my life would not progress. I thought, because I was in hospital so much, I just felt so, and so I felt really low. I guess it wasn't diagnosed or anything, so I don't know if I can say it was definitely depression, but I definitely felt really low.
Yeah.
And so I will say to anyone who has sickle or any long-standing illness that maybe is feeling that way, to push through and persevere, try and get help. I did get help. Fortunately, the hospital I'm under does have psychological psychotherapy, for sickle patients. And so I think that's really important. And I did utilize that, and that really helped me. And life has been good as well.
Can you see that comment,
Which comment?
Ahmed?
Yes, I can. Oh, thank you.
All right, good that you can see that one.
Thank you.
Big up, Ahmed.
Come on.
But yes, Brent, some
All right.
questions, please.
So the first question is from Godders,
Big up, Godders.
and he says, someone earlier posted they found out they had sickle cell when they gave blood for the 5th time. I'll assume the previous 4 times those bloods were given to others. Excuse my ignorance, but does that mean they'd get sickle cell or trait, or is it that you can only get it from reproduction?
That was trait. So
I don't understand the question. So
yeah, basically the comment that Godders is referring to was somebody in the chat who
Yes.
said that they had sickle cell trait, not
Okay.
sickle cell, yeah.
Yeah.
And that basically they were given blood, but only realized they had the trait on the 5th time of giving blood.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I can answer that. It doesn't matter. If you got trait, you can still give blood. The only way to get sickle cell is inherited through your parents' genes. That's the only way. You can't any other way.
Okay. Just before we continue, I think that they think that you're Isaac.
Can you imagine? This guy
This
always
is
always
Emmanuel.
sending
This
shots at
person's
me.
new. This person's new. So maybe
Big up K Kyber, man.
big up Isaac, man. All right. Next
Yeah.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it on the screen.
Inobo says, ask about if she feels whether tech has advanced to make treatment better.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my days. I remember fundraising for my hospital to buy the machine that I was talking about, that thingies the blood.
Yeah.
And like I said before, without that, the top up transfusions come with the risk of iron overload. They take forever, and you can only get maximum 3 units because there's only however many hours in the day. And those hours are cut short because it's not like a hospital admission, it's an outpatient something. So it's basically working hours. Whereas the technology of what they call the apheresis machine, it's like what they use for dialysis centrifuge, makes that, it removes the risk of iron overload completely. It makes the blood transfusion process much quicker, and it removes the sickled cells. So if you think about, let's say you have 100% volume of blood, right? And 50% of that blood is sickled cells. And then you top up with donor blood, that might bring the sickle percentage down to like 30%. But there's still 30% of sickled cells that can get caught anywhere where blood flows. And if you compare that to an exchange where they physically remove from that 50% of sickled blood cells, they remove and leave it at about 10. And then they top up with the donor blood, you have a far more likelihood of less sickle crises happening, less sickle complications happening. So tech has definitely helped in that arena. Absolutely.
Thank you for that, Inobo. Another question, Brent?
Next question is, I've already done that one. Next one is this one. I've already done that one. Why is it? Okay, they probably thought I wouldn't ask the questions. And I think we've answered this one.
Yeah, you've kind of, but let me just ask you again. So Inobo says, ask if Shaniqua had to change her diet for blood health.
So this is a controversial topic in the sickle community. So I've got a good friend who lives, like I said, in Jamaica. Shout out my friend Janika, my friend Jen.
Come on.
Is her organisation. And so she lives in Jamaica because the UK was like just not helpful. And she's very much for holistic health. And so in comparison to someone like me, I take a bag of medication every day. She doesn't. And I would say she's healthier than me. She might disagree. She might disagree, so she might pull me off on that. But I would say she's healthier than me. I take a bag of medication. But in terms of adjusting my diet, this is going to sound ridiculous because we've been speaking about how my health, like how severe my health is. But I'm a really picky eater. Like I don't like anything. Like I don't like anything. I don't eat any wet foods. I don't eat sauces. I mean, we're not going to get into it because there's a long list of, basically, I don't eat. I'm very, 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 very picky. Very picky. So it's very difficult for me to adjust my diet. I went strawberry picking the other day, and I was in the strawberry farm. They had beetroots as well. So when I was younger, I used to eat a lot of beetroot. So much so that in my primary school, my very first primary school, not far from here actually, they I had to keep a toothbrush there because my teeth would be red because I eat so much beetroot, right? I had to brush my teeth all the time after lunch. And like I said, after about age 6 or 7 to about 16, I never used to have any crisis. But now my body's decided it doesn't like beetroot, right? So my husband was trying to pull me up on it when we were in this farm, saying to me, you need to get over that. What if the beetroot was the reason that you weren't, ill? You got just back it. And I'm like, I can't. I don't like it. So yeah, I'm real immature when it comes to food. I don't like anything. Yeah, maybe I should address that.
So what's your typical diet like? In fact, tell me what your day's like. Like, what do you have to do in the morning?
Yeah.
During the day, the end, what do you eat as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So my typical day, I wake up about 6 a.m., take my medication. I get ready for work. If I'm working in the office, if not, after 6, I'll like have a prayer call, go back to sleep, wake up to work from home. Working from home, so I tend to, for what do I have for breakfast? I might have cereal. If I've got a later start, I might have eggs, and some brown bread or bagel. I love a seeded bread, seeded bagels. Yeah, that's a bit of me. So I'd have that with, I love tea, drink lots of tea. Oh, I drink a lot of tea, love tea. Lunchtime, so I tend to eat proper lunch. Like, don't give me no sandwich. I'm African. I want hot food. I want a proper meal. So for lunch, I might have like rice and chicken, or rice and beef, or whatever. And I'll have pretty much the same thing for dinner as well. I have like rice and beef, rice and chicken, rice and something. I love rice. I'm Nigerian, of course. I love rice.
But when you say you don't like sauces, though, so what does that mean?
So sauces means I don't want any condiment. Don't bring coleslaw, mayonnaise, ketchup, salad cream. Don't bring none of that.
I was getting scared. I thought it was like no hand food.
No.
Cool.
So no, I don't. No. So hand food for me is I eat atadindin, as in red stew.
Yes.
That's it. I don't want any other soup.
No F4, no okra, nothing.
No soup. Soup, but not just Nigerian soups. Obviously, my husband's Jamaican.
Yeah.
I don't want Saturday soup. I don't want wet food. I need my food to be solid, please. People are going to be judging me in the comments. They're going to be like, she's not my favorite no more. Get rid of her. Boo! Tomato.
Already blocked them. I blocked them already. All right, next question is... Oh. All right, I'll see if Isaac
can roll through.
Yeah, wants to come through.
Yeah, man, Isaac, if you're listening, Black History Month, talk about black scientists and that.
Yeah.
Get me. Roll through, man.
Yeah, I'll give Emmanuel a rest. Next one.
All right, so T says, please ask Shan if she's frozen her eggs due to this or is considering it.
No, I haven't, I haven't frozen my eggs. To be fair, so the drug we were talking about earlier called hydroxycarbamide, hydroxyurea, is a type of chemotherapy. It's a chemotherapy tablet. So maybe before I was given that, maybe I should have been given the option to freeze my eggs, but that didn't happen. But to be fair, I'm very not that I do want children, but I'm very resigned to the fact that if it's biological children, it will happen.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, there's a bag of kids out there that need adopted. And I really want to adopt generally, right? Whether I have biological kids or not. I do really want to adopt. So yeah, I've just
What?
like whatever happens.
How does your husband feel about that?
My husband, he's cool. He's
He's all right with.
easy.
I don't mind adopting.
No, I think he also. He also is pro adopting as
Okay,
well.
cool.
Like in longer term. Like
Yeah.
absolutely. Like there's such a need out there. Yeah. I mean, there's so many kids that need love, man. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Any more questions, Brent?
Yes. The next one is.
All right, so Ed said, can she go into what her non-white ex didn't understand about her illness? And can she speak on what she wishes people understood better about the pain or fatigue and managing it? This guy, you just want gossip.
Non-white X or is the non-black X?
No,
no,
so
white,
what I said is
Non-black
that
and non-white.
I really tend to only date black men, and
Mm-hmm.
that I had one ex-boyfriend. I've had 2 ex-boyfriends and my husband. One of those ex-boyfriends was not white because I said he wasn't black, and so I said, oh, he wasn't white either because the context of the conversation
What was he?
about dating white. He was he was Asian.
Well,
Big him up.
yeah, sure. All right.
Yeah, man.
So-
We're both controlling ourselves. So.
Even me too. What I'll say is I was young. But no shade to anyone who's Asian, of course, no shade. But it was a mismatch, basically. It was a cultural mismatch, it was a religious mismatch, and he didn't understand Sickle. He would, I'd be in hospital, he'd be like, oh, why did you tell people? So, like, my friends would come and visit me, why did you tell people you're in hospital? I would talk about how Sickle was impacting me in some way, and he'd be like, I make it a big deal, it doesn't have to be a big deal. Like, and the thing is, the illness, he's not alone in that thinking, right? Other people have said or made comments like that to me in the past. But the reality is the illness impacts every area of my life. And I feel it in every area of my life. And so if in a romantic relationship, you don't have the freedom to talk about how it's impacting you in every area of life, where will you have the freedom to talk about it if not in your romantic relationship? Is supposed to be the safest place, isn't it? It's supposed to be the place where you can really be you and talk about whatever and be free and whatnot. So yeah, those were the issues. But I can't lie, my husband is amazing. Like I no, obviously there are men in the room, no disrespect. I always say he's the man of all men. So like
Big him up.
I'm good. it's all good.
Hi, Tal.
There was a second part to that question as well, Brent.
What's that?
Yeah. Yes. What was it again? So Ed said, can you speak on what you wish people understood better about the pain or the fatigue and how you manage it as well?
Yeah. So managing the pain requires a lot of medication, and that medication has an impact. It impacts, like, I get brain fog a lot. I try to remember words, I can't remember what, I try to start describing it, and people are looking at me like this. So definitely, I guess, understanding and patience in relation to how the medication impacts me. And then also things like how the illness impacts me. So like fatigue is a big one because people so misunderstand fatigue. Like big up researchers, Isaac's people them. They're amazing and more power to them. But they're always working on cures. And a lot of sickle patients, if you speak to them, they'll be like, yeah, the cure is cool, right? But that's a long-term something.
Yeah.
Can we do something right now for fatigue, please? So I can get through the day without, bawling, without feeling like I'm going to drop down, without resorting to, like, I don't know, crazy things that I won't say on the air. So fatigue is a funny one because you have to have really understanding loved ones who understand how fatigue impacts you and that it can just come like that. And so because of that, you might have plans and then you got to cancel. You might, have to adjust things, or, you might be on holiday and suddenly you can't do what was planned. And so it takes a lot of understanding, I think, from loved ones. But once you've got that, it's cool. It's the difficulty is getting it.
Mm. Okay. I want to ask the question because I really don't want to forget this. Yeah, I saw one of your videos. I believe you was on a panel and Oren was there from ACLT.
Yes, yeah.
Big up AC.
Uncle Oren.
You know what I'm saying? Big up ACLT. They've come on the show as well, right?
Yes,
And we're
yes.
talking about blood donation stuff. So I really want us to talk about that. Yeah.
Mm.
How this guy? How important is it? He's laughing because I've not given blood. I will 100%. But how important is it, and how easy is it?
Yeah, sure. So the giving blood is very important. So like you see me here, right? Like laughing, joking, and not stick thin like people expect sickle patients to be. I have a job. I have a family. I have social life, and all of those things. I only get those because of blood donors. So without blood donation, that fatigue that we talk about, it would be worse than what it is now. Hospitalizations will be worse than what it is now. So the life that I live, the seemingly normal life that people take stuff for granted all the time. And we all do it. I'm not shading anyone, but you take for granted the ability to wake up and go to work and if you have a job that requires you to go to work 5 days a week, you're able to do that, and it's no skin off your nose. My sister, I remember one time we were talking and she was like, she's never had a sick day at work for it was like a year or 2 years or 3 years or something. I couldn't even dream of that life. What? 1 year? 1 year, no sickness.
Wow.
What? No sick days, girl. Oh my days. Yeah. So those things that we all take for granted, blood donation makes it possible for me and people like me. And in terms of how easy it is literally like a blood test. Like you get blood tests. That's it. One needle. They take the blood. They give you like a biscuit or whatever to get your sugar up, and then they send you on your way. It takes about 20 minutes, and that one donation can save up to like 3 people and go into 3 different adults.
Okay, so like how the pastors are like, I can see someone in the crowd that is talking to the congregation. I can see someone in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Myself included. How does that person after the show say, you know what, cool, what's the first steps to me going to give blood?
So if you Google NHS blood and transfer, NHS BT, you'll be able to find your nearest blood donation centre. And then once you go you ain't even got to remember after that. They will remind you, because my husband gives blood. They be texting him, they be messaging him, like he can't forget. Like they'll be like, we haven't seen you. So yeah.
And how often does he get the texts and stuff, for example?
I think you're able to do it like once every 3 months or something like that. He gets, yeah, something like that. I mean, there are some limitations in terms of low iron, but he doesn't have low iron. So, but people that have low iron would probably know.
Okay. We've seen someone in the chat, Equity Ackerman is basically saying, I'm not coming on the show until E-Man signs up to give blood. Fair enough.
Yes, yeah.
When was you invited? I'm joking. I was joking, my good brother. Equity. You know what the thing is, yeah?
Joking, not joking.
No. You know what? I need to, though. I need to. I really do.
It's nerve-wracking. So I got a friend who was it 2019? I took her to give blood the first time. She was very nervous. But afterwards, I mean, firstly, she was so happy she did it. And then after that, she just kept going back. But I understand, like, as someone who, even though I have a lot of, like, needles pricked into me, I'm very squeamish. I hate, like, oh gosh, the thought of piercing the skin makes me my legs, the bone is
men don't worry about this kind
of stuff. For real,
men don't worry about it.
There we are, look at that.
I'm a Caribbean man, I'm a Jamaican man, you get me? So I'm just saying, man, don't worry about this.
You know what it is, yeah? Whenever I've had like a blood test or something, yeah, there's always a struggle to find a vein.
Yeah,
always. Like, on average, they have to go and find 1 or 2 people. So that nurse who's meant to be doing the job, she has to find somebody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes that person has to find somebody else.
Someone else.
You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes they have to go through hair.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is long. But I read something about magnesium and stuff, yeah? And I started taking that because it helps with sleep, apparently, yeah? Not apparently, it does, right? And that helps with blood flow, too. So I'm gonna give it a try. Yeah. And hopefully, you know what I mean, they can do it on the first try, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't believe you. Good morning, Chijoke.
I'll check in.
She's okay.
Morning. Yeah, morning.
Come to
Yeah,
flog
I just
your
wanted
brother.
to say as well, just in terms of donating blood, one of the things that I remember seeing, and it was just different conversations being had about when you can give blood. So I think the first time I tried was I just came back from Nigeria about 3 or 4 weeks before, and they were like, "No, you've got to give it." I think 3 months at the time. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's still the same, but depending on where you're traveling from,
Yeah.
they're quite specific about you can't donate. And
Mm.
I think as well for some of the 420 guys, they're quite specific about that as well. They will ask you questions about that. So yeah, there's some
Yeah.
people that have to take that into consideration.
Yeah. That's true.
Thank you for that, Chijoke. I've just been notified in the chat that Akwasi is Isaac.
Yes.
So I had no idea.
Oh,
Big
you
up.
didn't?
I had no idea, man. That's why I said what I said, innit?
I didn't hear what you said.
It doesn't need to be repeated.
Okay.
But no, I will.
But
You
it
know
was an
what?
interesting picture he used.
I didn't see the
Look,
picture.
science humor.
This guy. This
What is
guy.
this? Oh, I like him already.
This guy.
All right, cool.
All right.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
I think she already said this. Maybe not.
Yes, you pretty much have. Ed's asking, what accommodations help you manage your sickle cell at work?
Yes. So earlier I spoke about working from home, not going in the winter months when I'm at higher risk. Other things that help me, excuse me, other things that help me at work. So for example, having access, if I'm in the office, having access to a medical room, because if I'm in pain and I take medication, it might make me drowsy.
Mm.
So access to a medical room where I can like nap it out basically until I'm sober again. Other things as well, I get cab to and from work.
Mm.
Sorry, excuse me.
As in, like, paid for by the
The
job?
organization,
Okay.
yeah. So cab to and from work.
Mm.
And what else do I have? Oh, this is a key one actually. I think not just for people with sickle, for people with any illness, is usually there's this sickness policy that if you have X amount of days off sick,
Yeah.
HR will pull you in like
Disciplinaries
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
So having that waived because
Okay.
equity equity would dictate that if that isn't waived, I'm always going to be on the back foot
Yes.
because naturally I'm going to have more time off sick than a non sickle person or someone without any underlying issues, isn't it? So that's the main one for me. That's really important because what can't happen is I'm off sick, I go into hospital, and then I come back to work, and you're pulling me into meetings talking about disciplinary, job loss, this, yeah, that will maybe send me over the edge. Not like suicide, I mean like anger. I mean like, yeah, like that might make me explode.
All right. I want to ask another question. And Brent tends to basically clip up a lot of these interviews and stuff, yeah. So I want him to clip this one up. I'm going to ask you, yeah.
Sure.
What are some of the biggest stigmas or misconceptions about sickle cell?
Would you like some water?
Yes, please.
Okay.
What was this?
That's so random.
It's not really. Someone said.
Oh.
Got a bottle there, Emmanuel?
I do indeed.
Thank you much. You can have mine.
Oh, thank you.
Go for it. Is that right to for it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice catch.
Thank you.
Yes. So, what are some of the biggest stigmas or misconceptions?
For a moment to accept some, please. Gosh.
I know. I'm
Whilst you're
doing.
waiting, go and have the ACLT. Find where the next one is. I want Isaac on.
This guy. No, you know what? I'm definitely gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel myself too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't worry, I will, man. I will.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we were rudely interrupted by Brent, what are some of the biggest stigmas or misconceptions about sickle cell that you would like to debunk?
I think most importantly that people with sickle cell can't live long and fulfilling lives. That's a big myth. And with access to the right healthcare and support, they absolutely can. And so I think that's really important. Another myth I'd like to debunk is in relation to the pain is either not that bad or not that real, and that sickle patients are going into hospital because they want to get high. I hate that. I hate it so much. Most people just want to live life and enjoy it. They're not, if they're in hospital, you have to remember it's a horrible environment. It's not like being in hospital was fun, you know, like you're going to miss whatever social events are on, you're going to miss whatever is, you know, going on at work. You're probably going to have to catch up on. You're going to, you know, birthdays and that, or weddings or whatever family occasion. You're going to miss all of that whilst you're in hospital, right? So it's not like it's fun. No one wants to be there. It's lonely, it's noisy, it's annoying, no one wants to be there. So most people who are going into hospital are going there because they actually need to be there. And so I think that's really important to debunk that myth about drug seeking and just being there to get high or whatever. And then the last thing I would want to debunk is this theory misconception that people with sickle cell are lazy. And I think this ties in with the fatigue as well, the fatigue question, because they're often so fatigued. Seemingly small things like just a real struggle when you're in that state. And so people might interpret it as, oh, you're lazy, oh, you always have excuses, you never want to be here, there, or you never want to come out, or you never, like, it's not that. They're not lazy, they're struggling. And firstly, be thankful that you're not struggling in that way and be a bit more understanding.
Yeah. All right, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I know, obviously, you're advocating for sickle cell. Talk about sickle cell, and there's other people that do the same. Like I said to you before, we've had like maybe 2 or 3 different guests on the show. But do you feel like sickle cell still gets the attention needed by the Black community?
I think it's improving, you know.
Okay.
So before, I don't think it got any attention. I remember when COVID happened and they were saying on the news about the extra vulnerable category of people who need a shield.
Yeah.
And sickle cell was there in the list. And they actually said the word sickle cell, those with sickle cell disease. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I'd never heard sickle cell in media before. My entire life, I could not believe it. So since then, I've definitely seen an improvement and uptake in the Black community of understanding sickle, talking about sickle, you know, knowing that Sickle Cell Awareness Day exists, knowing that Sickle Cell Awareness Month exists. These are things that 3-4 years ago I didn't see. So I think there's definitely been a big improvement. Definitely improving. I mean, there's a ways to go. I still meet people who are like, oh, what's that? Oh, I've never heard of sickle. So
As in Black people?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's still a way to go, but we're getting there.
And obviously, along your journeys and stuff, you've written Shaniqua's Sickle Chronicles, right?
Yes.
Can you tell the people what that is about, or what it is? Yeah.
Sure thing. So Shaniqua's Sickle Chronicles is literally me using my life experiences to educate and raise awareness about sickle and the weird and wonderful life I lead because of it.
And when you direct people to it, because it's basically a blog, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you hope people take away from it, though?
So I hope that people understand the sickle patients that they encounter a bit more. Like they understand their struggles, they understand their difficulties, they understand how the illness impacts them. They understand, that most people with sickle are just trying to live.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, like I mentioned, like you've been putting work in this area for a long time now, yeah. Were you inspired to do this by other people, or are you one of those people who feel like, you know what, sometimes when God places something on your heart, it's because He wants you to actually start it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did it come about?
So it came about because I feel like there was an absence.
Okay.
So it's getting better now. I feel like now there are so many sickle patient advocates, but growing up, you were always told not to tell anyone, you know. Not even my parents specifically, but I mean like community-wise, like why will you tell people your like weakness kind of thing. And the issue is thinking like that feeds into the misconceptions and stigma that we spoke about earlier. So it's like a full circle, isn't it? If we want to eradicate that stigma that's attached to sickle cell, we need to talk about the condition and educate about the condition. And so I kind of just saw it as, I guess, almost my responsibility. And so, I mean, at first my parents were definitely like, oh my gosh, this is, I think at first they thought maybe I'd do a little talk here a little bit. Now it's like, I'm going to conferences, I'm writing, I'm doing pods, I'm, so now they're like, oh, it's a bit, but I'm like, no, it's important. It's important because, you help, hopefully the people with sickle coming, the next generation, they won't have to struggle the same way that me and my peers have had to.
This just came to me. What did you feel about Supercell?
So overall, I think it was a really good show. Really good show. I enjoyed it. I watched it almost like binge watched it. So that's how I know I enjoyed it, right? I was playing in my mind the other day this debate, right? Because one of my concerns about Supercell was in relation to, there was a scene where, I forgot the character's name, but it's played by Tosin Cole, and his mum says, she's in the centre, and she's like, she's got sickle, and she's like, oh, it was a miracle he came without any sickle cell trait at all. That's not physically possible. And so I was concerned about people believing, because the issue within the community already is a lack of knowledge about trait and how people have trait and finding out. I was a bit concerned about that. But I did debate this in my mind, right? So I watched this medical drama called House. And it's about this guy who's basically a Vicodin addict.
The legendary House.
It's one of the best.
One of the best series, man.
So in real life, right, if anyone lived like House, they'd be dead, right? So it's false, isn't it? It's fictitious. So in the same way, the writers of Supercell should have the creative liberty to write the story as like it's fictitious, isn't it? They should have that creative freedom in the same way that whoever wrote House has the creative freedom to still have this guy alive after 8 seasons when he's like, well, I'm on season 8, so don't spoil it for me. I haven't finished it, but like he would have been, any normal person would have been dead like ages ago. Do you get what I mean? So I do think that, but then I also think, oh well, is there a responsibility on the writers because of the misconceptions of sickle to make sure that they get that right? And I don't think I found an answer, if I'm honest. Part of me thinks yes, part of me thinks no. Yeah, but the show was good.
Exactly, but overall, you feel like it,
and it did a lot to bring sickle cell to people's minds. So I think that's important as well. So credit where credit is due.
You mentioned something about, obviously, your I don't want to say gripe, but the thing you noticed about Supercell, and you said where the mum said, oh, it's a miracle. That made me think of church and praying. Have you ever come across situations or heard of situations where people are made to think, you know what, prayer can cure sickle cell?
Yeah, bear. Bear. Oh, and it's so concerning.
Oh, you don't think it can happen?
So, what, you know what? Oh, right.
What is that? Is that Black Rob?
Whoa, no.
No, it's Isaac. It's Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, do you know what I do think, right? I think that the ministry of Christ in relation to the healing and that, I kind of feel like it's I don't want to say stopped, because that would limit God, right? So God is God. God can do whatever. And I'm a mere mortal. So I hear that. But I feel like, like I said earlier, I'm not anybody. Like, like, respectfully, none of us are like anyone. Like, why would there be like a gazillion people living with a particular illness? Insert here in it. It doesn't have to be sickle. And you won because you walked into this one church and this one pastor saw your yellow eyes, probably is how we told, and then made it seem like he was some prophet. And then suddenly you stop taking your medication. And when Wahala comes with the health going down or whatever, he's not there to help. Do you get what I mean? He's not there to deal with the consequences. Do you get what I mean? And also, another thing I would say is, in biblical times, false prophets were dealt with. That doesn't happen now because by the biblical standard, if someone says that they're a prophet and their prophecy doesn't happen, it's stonings that they would do. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm just saying. So I'm just saying, yeah.
Well, one can say, did you say it was Abiku?
Yes, yeah.
One can say that over time, I guess miracles were born out through medical care.
Mm-hmm. I
If
agree
it was
with that.
rampant that you wouldn't reach a certain age, and now you could live for as long as it is that you, maybe that's the
that's a
miracle.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a strong believer of that. Like, oftentimes when people think of religion, they think of people who are brainless or don't engage intelligence or their brain or whatever. And I often think, like, if we're made in God's image, God made us with a brain, so use that brain in the same way that tech has developed, medical science has developed, and I do believe that those are all, gifts from God. Intelligence is a gift from God. The researchers that are doing that amazing work, though, that is, they didn't do anything to be so intelligent. Not that they were born that way. They had to study, of course, but to even be. All of us study, and not all of us are researchers. Do you get what I mean? Like, so that in and of itself, to me, is the miracle, and it means that a lot more people can access healthcare in a way that wouldn't be possible if it was one pastor on a mountain doing the hand business. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call it.
Good morning, Patrick. How are you? And what are your thoughts? What would you like to share? Patrick? Okay. Welcome back, Chijoke. Okay. All right. I'll push on to the next question.
I think it was Isaac that came after me, but
Yeah, I'm aware, but he's not here anymore, so I didn't want to give him any more airtime.
okay.
Ginger says the books that I gave Eman and Margs for their children were from Jenica.
Oh, my friend that we're just bigging up. Okay, yes, big up my friend Jen.
All right. That was not a question. Let me remove that. Don't at me again. Ask her if she partakes in industry events, etc., to give her info to professionals.
Yeah, sure. Do you mean like speaking about Sickle at like companies and stuff? Yeah, I do that. I recently spoke at MasterCard. I spoke at some project management company earlier this week. So yeah, sure.
How does she balance flare-ups with long-term plans, e.g., career or travel? And I also want to know, right? If I'm on a date with a sickle cell person,
Yeah.
and there's a crisis right away, how do I react? What's the best way to basically handle it?
Okay.
Well, you can answer Ed's question first. Maybe that's more interesting to people.
So in terms of like travel, I travel with oxygen. I got this machine. It takes air from the atmosphere and turns it into medical grade oxygen. So I once went on a flight to, believe it or not, Aberdeen. Very short flight. No, it wasn't even Aberdeen. It wasn't that far. It was Glasgow. I was going to a medical conference to speak, and suffered a crisis on the plane, like major.
Wow.
Like everything was shaking. Like definitely one of my more severe crises in life. And so as a result of that, I now have to fly with oxygen. So I never used to before. But because of that, it was quite severe. In fact, when I was coming back, when I was discharged from hospital, I wasn't able to fly. I had to, thank God for good friends. Some of my friends had to come and drive up to Glasgow and get me. And yeah, it was a taking turns driving thing, the two of them. So yeah, thank God for good friends.
I wouldn't know what that was about.
And then on the question about you're on a date and a crisis happens. Firstly, the first thing I'll say is protect her dignity, right? Because you have to remember the person's going to be at such a vulnerable moment. And the same way, like if you were having any vulnerable moment, health or not health, you don't want, everyone loves a show in it. Like, oh, someone drops down, everyone's like, oh, let me see, let me get my phone out. You don't want that, right? So protect her dignity. That might mean, depending on where you are, taking her to like a corner or calling for help to like cover her or whatever, like just protect the person's dignity, so that they don't become the story of TikTok on the day.
I'm glad you know that she'll be scantily dressed on this date. Come on.
So that they don't become the topic of discussion. That's important. Ask them what they want to do. Sometimes I think people naturally think the first thing to do is call an ambulance, but sometimes sickle patient may not want that, you know. So for example, I remember when I bought my flat with my sister, and I didn't know that there were such things as ambulance boundaries. And so what that meant is whenever I'd have a crisis at home and I'd call the ambulance, they'd take me to the hospital I don't want to go to by force.
Yeah.
And I had no say in the matter. So if I fell into crisis at home, I don't want anyone to call me an ambulance. What I want is for someone to pick me up and put me in their car or call a cab, drive me to the London border, and then call the ambulance there so that I get to a hospital that actually knows what they're doing. So ask them what they would like you to do. Is it something? Do they have medication in their bag? Do they want to go to hospital? Do they just want to go home? And help facilitate that. And then like check in afterwards. Yeah, especially if you're trying to have a second date, make sure you check in.
So no ghosting allowed.
Jenna just asked, do you have a charity or one that you would like to recommend?
So this is a funny topic to me because there are so many sickle charities, and I feel like there needs to be more cohesion and unity. I feel like there's strength in numbers and organization, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're really going to change stuff for the better, we need to be unified and organized collectively. What I find happens is people they identify a gap somewhere, and so they build a charity to focus on that gap. Whereas if all of them came together and just had one single sickle charity for the UK, they'd be able to service so many different, patient needs. So to that point, I know quite a few charities. I don't know if I can recommend any. What I would say is to give where your heart leads you, isn't it? Like all charities need the funds, isn't it? So to give where your heart leads, basically.
Is there a reason as to why it is that you won't look to recommend? Is it because you're dipping your toes into quite a few of them?
No. So I'm not really attached to any charity personally. The reason I won't recommend is because it depends on what you're looking for. So, for example, there's a sickle charity that is very well known, and they do a lot for children with sickle cell. But I know people, like even me as an adult, I could not tell you like what services they offer for adults with sickle. I mean, in the same way, I know another charity that really helps young boys with sickle cell and growing into men, which is fantastic. And it is something that is needed because of gendered differences, sickle does impact men and women differently. So that is important. I'm not negating that. But like I know other guys who feel that it doesn't support them sufficiently, so that's the reason I don't really want to. It depends on what you're looking for, isn't it? That's why I say to give where your heart leads as opposed to my recommendation. Who am I? Emily?
All right. Well, Curtis Jackson, he says, can we please get the names of the organizations that help you personally and professionally?
Organizations that help me personally. So one organization I will shout out based on earlier discussion about childhood moving into adulthood and what transition looks like is the European Sickle Cell Federation. I think so they've recently launched a charter for transition in healthcare. for sickle patients. And actually, because I was talking to a friend who runs a charity in Cambodia for children with HIV, the points in that charter, even though they're sickle focused, can actually be used for any long-term illness where someone is born with the illness and they have to grow into adulthood and learn to manage that illness. So I will shout out the European Sickle Cell Federation. You can find that charter on their website. Yeah, a really, really important document. And again, bringing together, because this is European, right? So that charter will be applicable for any European nation. And I mean, other nations can use it too. It really speaks to the importance of preparing children with sickle cell for adulthood with sickle cell.
Okay. Thank you for that. Brent, I want you to clip this next question up as well, please, if you don't mind. So, tomorrow, you're sitting in front of a government or healthcare leader, Keir Starmer or Wes Streeton. What's the one policy or change that you would demand for sickle cell patients?
So this one policy, can I give two, please?
For sure.
There are two policies that I would demand. One, I guess, is sickle specific. One, I think will actually benefit all other patients as well.
Okay.
So one is sickle cell is no different from the list of illnesses that get free prescriptions in the UK. So to me, based on studying that list, the only difference is that sickle impacts mainly Black people as opposed to other demographics. So why are we paying for medication? We're already at a disadvantage in terms of, like I spoke about earlier, about careers and stuff. So many people with sickle don't get to have like flourishing, promising careers, and so financially they're already at a disadvantage, and now they got to pay for medication in ways that other people with other illnesses don't need to. So I think that will be definitely one I bring to the forefront.
Okay.
The next one I give is there needs to be consequences. So there are guidelines that talk about how a hospital is supposed to manage a sickle cell crisis. And these are called the NICE guidelines, right? And the NICE guidelines say that if a patient presents at hospital with acute sickle cell crisis, they should be seen within 30 minutes.
Okay.
Most sickle patients will tell you that never happens in any hospital, anywhere. But there are no consequences for it. I remember actually a time when I pulled up a doctor about it and I said, the NICE guidelines said this. She got angry that I knew the NICE guidelines as opposed to doing her job and prescribing the pain relief that I needed.
Insane.
Yeah, so there are no consequences. You know, if you are prescribed the pain relief and then you ask for it at the times in which it's prescribed and it doesn't come, and you know the blood isn't flowing, so you get long-term damage like I got in my hip, right? The people that caused that, they get to go home to their families and it's all cool. They don't even know that they did that. There's no consequences. I'm the one that has to live with the consequences. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would like to see, and I understand that it's especially for people who work in healthcare, it's a difficult balance, right? Because why should their careers be penalized because of a lack of funding and a lack of investment? And I hear that as well. But life is incentives. My husband will always say people are incentivized to do stuff, isn't it? And so if there are no consequences for actions, people won't be incentivized to do the right thing.
Amazing answer, man. And I want to extend that to some degree anyway, to the chat, to everyone that's listening. From this entire amazing conversation, thank you for joining us, right?
Thanks for having me.
What, maybe 3 things do you want everyone to take away from this conversation?
3 things.
Yeah.
First thing, get tested. Tested for your genotype. Language matters, right? So earlier, I think Brent was mentioning that people in the chat were saying that they went to the GP. No, it wasn't Brent, it was Isaac that was saying that people...
I can understand why you made a mistake, you know. Come on.
People in the chat were saying that they went to their GP and the GP didn't give them the blood test.
Yeah.
So language, it's not fair that the burden of the language sits on you, the patient, when the GP is supposed to know their stuff. But where we are, we've got to deal with the reality of where we are, right? So people often go to their GP and say, I want to test my blood type. And the GP says, no, it's not your blood type that you need tested. It's your genotype That is important. Now, I'm not saying that the GP is always going to say yes. They're supposed to. There's policy that dictates that they're supposed to, but many of them don't know it. So you have two choices. Either you fight them, push back, and advocate for yourself. I think it's so important, because oftentimes, no disrespect to doctors, big up doctors, the good ones shout you out, right? Like that's no easy job. But oftentimes doctors see it as they're the specialist, and so they don't listen. And I'm always quick to say, no, you went to medical school for 7 years.
Yeah.
I've studied this condition for well over 3 decades. I'm the specialist here. You will listen to me.
Yeah.
And so you're the specialist in your body, right? You know your body more than the GP does. So even if a GP says they're not going to give you the blood test, push back, ask them to explain why. They won't be able to, because they're permitted to give you this genotype testing. Or the alternative is you say bun the GP and you go to either a blood donation center or a sickle cell center. You'd have to Google them. They're like dotted around London. There's like one in Brent. There's one in East Ham, Stratford. There's all these. So, and then you could go there and have your genotype tested.
Okay.
And they'll tell you. So definitely get tested because, like I said earlier, there are so many people walking around with sickle cell trait and they don't know. And knowledge is power, isn't it? You can only make family planning decisions once you know. You can't help what you don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is to give blood. But as I've said earlier, like if you see my
Don't bring attention to what you said, please.
Oh my days! No, I would say to give blood because if you can give blood, I know that there are limitations for some people but if you can give blood, please do. It makes such a difference. Like being able to live as normal a life, it makes such a difference. And then the third thing I would say is to be understanding and compassionate to sickle patients. If you're a manager at work, if you're a friend, if you're a family member, sibling, or anything like that, just be understanding and compassionate. And if you ever encounter a scenario where people are denigrating them or talking badly about them or because of the illness, stand up for them so that they don't have to, because it gets tiring. I can't lie. It's having to tell everyone, don't say that about me, this. Some, the same way with like race relations, people say to the racist, you go and do the work. I'm not gonna be used as a tool to be educating you all the time. In the same vein, let them rest. Stand up for them. Let them rest.
All right. Unfortunately, obviously, we have to wrap up. Right.
Oh,
We got another question?
yeah.
Okay. Ginger, she says, also, can we mention the NHS passport?
Yeah.
Hasn't that helped with the treatment sickle cell patients receive when they go to different hospitals?
And
Yeah.
And Yvette also says, what's a genotype?
Oh, good question, actually. Thank you. Sometimes, you're so used to speaking jargon, you forget. Yeah. So on the passport, the passport helps and no, it doesn't. So, I just used the example of moving to Essex with my sister. So I spoke to my consultant about it the first time, second time it happened. He wrote a letter addressed to the ambulance service that when she has a crisis, bring her to this hospital, right? So the next time I called the ambulance and I showed him that letter, they were like, "Oh, cool story, but he's not my boss. Like, I don't have to listen to that letter." In the same way, these passports, they are, it's not a collective NHS something.
Okay.
It's specific to the hospital that you're under. And so what that means is if you go to the hospital that you're under, they will see it and they may take the right course of action. But if I take that same passport and I end up in Glasgow, they look at that like, what am I supposed to do with this kind of thing? So yes and no.
Okay, cool. And genotype.
Genotype. So genotype is earlier when we were speaking, Isaac was talking about the name of the gene. The HBSS is what I've got. Most people who have normal blood are HBAA. and some people have like an S gene or a C gene. Those are sickle genes. So someone earlier wrote about sickle cell, but they shortened sickle cell to SC, which I always find interesting because I know people write it as sickle cell, but there's actually a type of sickle cell that is called HBSC. I have HBSS. So that's the genotype is that letter. So you get one from your mum and one from your dad. And I believe the letters tend to, I mean, there are like minor variants like beta, thalassemia, and all of that, but mainly it's A, which stands for normal blood, S, which is a sickle gene, and C, which is a sickle gene. So if someone is HBAA, they have normal blood. If someone is HBAS or AC, they have sickle cell trait. If someone is HBSS or HBSC, they have sickle cell disease of some variant. So that's what we refer to as genotype, and it's distinct from your blood type. Your blood, so like your blood type will be like A, B, O.
Oh, and that.
Yeah, so it's different. That's why the language matters. And it isn't fair that the burden of getting that language right sits on you. But at the moment, that's where we are.
All right. I feel like we've kind of touched on everything. Hopefully, we haven't missed anything. I'm seeing people in the chat saying this was an amazing conversation, that you've been an amazing guest.
Oh, thank you.
You are a few people's favorite so far.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So it goes without saying, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
I'll be back. And I will have listened to your albums by then. So then we can talk about rap, because I've got a lot to say about rap music now, boy.
And I would have given blood.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Don't go so far, please.
No, not for real. No, I need to, man.
I'm going to check in.
But yes, thank you very much for coming. And yeah, man, and informing us and educating us and enlightening us on all things sickle cell. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really need to get this subject out to the people. You know what I'm saying? Especially the black community, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry,
sure.
the last one. It's hard to basically see when someone is asking a question if I'm not atted.
Okay.
And when I say atted, press the at button and then type in the day after TNB as it's written at the top of the chart. That's where it will show up orange for me. So it's highlighted, and then I can basically favorite it and then put it up. But I managed to catch this one.
So Yvette says, how does Shan feel after a crisis, and how long does it take to recover?
So after a crisis, I feel completely washed. Very weak. Very weak. Like, think about like your weakest day and then multiply it by 10. Like, really weak. Like, unable to prepare meals, unable to look after oneself. Like, really, really weak. And I think recovery on average takes me about a week, sometimes longer if the crisis was so like that crisis I spoke about 2019 where I was in hospital for 3 months. The recovery of that was months as well. I had carers coming in every day to come and like take care of my personal care needs. Like, it was a long graft back to normality. So sometimes it's a week, but it depends on the severity. It can be quite a way longer than that as well.
All right. So, well, I hope that's answered that question, Yvette. Again, I'm seeing more and more people talking about, amazing conversation, so informative. Let's treat this like the gospel, man. Take it to all the corners of the world.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? Just share the video. That's all you have to do. Remember the other day, Ben, we were talking about Ginger J. How many people was in the chat? How many people was liking the video? And that was unproductive nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Please, this literally saves lives. You know what I'm saying? Literally saves lives. And it's going to be people in our families, our communities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so please, guys, man, let's get this information out there, man. And yeah, again, please, thank you very much for coming, man, and blessing us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks all.
All right, Brent. So we've got a couple more headlines, and then we can wrap up this show.
All right, then.